Hello pattern lovers, you're welcome and welcome back. It's yet another exciting tutorial, and in today's video we'll be drafting this gorgeous corporate gown. The front is like a two-in-one. The gray is overlaying the black stylishly, and there's an armhole princess that going on at the back which didn't get all the way down, and a whole lot more. So if you like the sound of that, do watch this video to the end and let's get to it. So my pattern paper is ready and it's unfold. We are going to call this unfold. Then I have a line which will serve as the shoulder line, then the bust point line, the waistline, the hip line. Then for the length, I think I have about 11 inches from the hip down, which is not supposed to be so. But because I don't have much of this particular pattern, so I'm just going to show you how to draft this. But for the length, you're going to measure from your shoulder to your knee. Then from your knee, you're going to add from 5 inches upwards, depending on where you want it to sit and also depending on your height. Okay, that's if you don't have your actual measurement. The length is supposed to be 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to get the shoulder measurement, divide by 2 on the shoulder line. Then I'll go down to 8.5, which I'm using as the chest line. Then I'm going to square it out this way. Then I'm going to mark 3 inches here, and then come here and go down to 1.5 for the shoulder slope. Now I'm going to slant it to the 3 inches I'm using as the neck width yet. Okay, then the next thing I'll be doing is to get the midpoint of this line. I'll mark it, then I'll go ahead and go in there by 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to get the bust measurement divided by 4. 36 divided by 4, that's 9 inches. Then I'm going to first slant from the 1/2 inch to the shoulder tip. Then I'm going to curve the other part this way, and the armhole is ready. Now I'm going to get the bust span, that's nipple to nipple. I'll mark it on the bust point line, then also on the hip line. Then I'm going to mark a line across this way. Now I'm going to start from the waist and go down 6 inches, and that would be the dart length. Then on both sides of this dart line, I'll be taking 0.75. That's 1.5, right? Then I'm going to give it the dart line like this. Okay. Now I'm going to get the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1.5 dart intake. I'll go to the hip line and take the hip measurement divided by 4. There is no dart intake there, so there is no dart replacement. Then I'm going to connect from the bust measurement to the waist, then from the waist to the hip. Then for the length, like the measurement you're going to take on the length, you're going to take out 8 inches from your round hip. That's your hip circumference. You're going to minus 8 inches. Then whatever you have, you're going to divide that by 4 and mark it at the hem. That's like the length of your gown. And that is because it's a pencil gown, so taking out 8 inches would give you that effect. Okay, so but because of the length I'm working with, I just take out about 1 inch from what I have on the hip line, right? And that's it for that. Now for the bust dart, I'll be doing 1.5. Then I'm going to slant it to the bust point, just as you can see me do it here. Now I'm going to mark my actual neck width of 3.5, then the neck depth of 3 inches. I'm using 3.5 as the neck width, and then 3 inches as the neck depth. And now I'll be doing the second neckline, the black neckline. Yeah, so from the shoulder slope, I'll be coming down 2.5. And depending on your height, that's like depending on the distance between your shoulder to your chest line, determines how much you will come down here. You might even need to come down 3 inches or 4 inches, depending on the distance between your shoulder to your chest line. Okay, then from the shoulder on the center front, I'll be going down to 6 inches. Yeah, 6.5 and 7 inches, because I want to know the effect that the both of them would give me. So I'm going to curve the two out. But the 6.5 and the 7 inches, they would both be going to the 2.5 I have on the, yeah, from the shoulder slope down. Then I'm going to trace out all the important lines just to transfer all these markings to the other part of the paper. Okay, that's the other side of the paper. So I'm going to trace that. Even the neckline, both the 6.5 and the 7 inches, I'll just go ahead and trace it out. Then after that, I'm going to use my pencil to highlight the tracing to have something like this. Okay, now this is my 2.5. Then I'm going to start from the shoulder and go down to my under bust. My under bust is 13.5. Okay, then I'm going to add extra 1 inch to the 13.5, making it 14.5. Whatever you have from your shoulder to your under bust, you're going to add extra 1 inch. That's like going down 1 inch from your under bust line. Then I'm going to highlight it like this. Okay, then from the 2.5, right, this 2.5, I'll be going down to 1 inch. You can also do 1.5. Okay, 1.5 or 1 inch works, right? Then I'll come to the center this way. On the bust point line, I'll be going out by 1 inch like this. Now I'm going to connect these 3 points, right, with a very smooth C curve. Okay, just give it a very smooth and sweet C curve. First, I'm going in with a dotted lines. Then when I'm comfortable with what I have there, I'm going to like smoothen it out this way. You can also see that I'm freehanding this. If that would be hard for you, you can decide to create a template, like a C template. Then you're going to use that to trace it out here. But this works for me. This gives me the perfect C that I want. Okay, then for the neck depth, I think I'll be using 7 inches. 7 inches would do it for me, yeah. You can also decide to determine your neck depth at this point so that you see what you're going for. Now I'm going to use my curve to curve out the neckline, just as you can see me do it here. And it's looking so much more like what we have on the thumbnail. And then later on, we'll be tightening the neckline and even the keyhole. I choose to call that keyhole. That's the C curve. Now, for the other part of the overlay, I want it to be about 2.5 width. So I'm starting from the end of the C curve and then I'm going down to 2.5, which is like 0.125 below the waistline. Whatever height you want there, but 2.5, 3 inches would give you what is on the thumbnail. Then from the hip line here, I'll be coming in by 4.5. Okay, then I'm going to also freehand it and give it the same shape we have on the thumbnail. At this point, you can decide to be looking at the picture and curving it out, right? But I'm going to like dot it out first, and when I'm comfortable with what I have, like the shape I have, I'm going to smoothen out this way. And you see this particular part, you're going to be careful here so that you have the same shape as it is on the thumbnail. And that's pretty much about it. But why trying to overlay it if that part will be hard for you, which I assume is not supposed to be hard? You can decide to connect, that's the black here. You can decide to connect it to the neck width or somewhere around the neck. But I feel like that would even complicate the whole thing. If you know that the gray part will be overlaying the black with about 1 inch, or if in your case you did 1.5, you know that one is going to be under the other one with about 1 inch or 1.5, whatever you use. For my case, it's just 1 inch. It will be very easy for you once you know that. Okay, now for the neck tightening, I'll just be doing 1/2 inch and you can see the direction it's going. 1 inch on both sides. Had it been this pattern is on fold, it would be just 1/2 inch on one side. And on both sides now, it's 1 inch, 1/2 inch on each side, and that's 1 inch. So I'm going to place a paper underneath this pattern now. Then I'm going to trace out the one that has C curve. Yeah, that's the gray part. So I'm going to trace it out the same way you see me doing it here. Make sure that as you're tracing it out, your pattern is not shifting, or like the one under or even the one on top is not shifting. Just make sure they are together while you trace out the important lines. Then I'm going to also trace the dots on each side, even though it's not necessary, but we'll be eliminating the dot for the overlay part of the gown. Okay, so it's important that you trace out the dots too, just so you know what you're doing. And after tracing it out and even tracing it out with a marker, this is what it looks like. Yeah, so I'm going now to highlight the dot. Yeah, just so you see it, and when we are taking it out, you know that you are taking out the exact measurement we use for the dart. So this is the waistline, then I'm going to highlight the dart this way. Then I'm going to also indicate this sideline just to where the armhole stops, just like this. Okay, then I used 1.5 for the dart intake. That's, yeah, 1.5. I'm going to come here on the center, on the waistline. Yeah, go in by 1.5. Then I'm going to blend it into the bust measurement like this, and then curve it to the hip line, even though you cannot see the hip line, but I can see it clearly. So I'm going to like blend it in this way, and we have eliminated the dart on one side. So measuring from the shoulder, my half length is 17 inches. So I'm going to like mark it here. Then I'm going to connect it to the other part of the waistline. Then I'll come to this waistline now. From the side, I'll be coming in by 1.5. Then I measured, and my waistline is about 14.25 instead of 14 inches. So I try to make sure I have the exact 1.5 I should eliminate on the waistline. And that's it. That's what it looks like after eliminating it. The next thing now, I'm going to fold this dart. Just I'll fold it this way and then hold it down. I'm not going to tape it down. I'll just hold it like this. Then I'm going to use my ruler to smoothen it, like blend it in this way. Then use my tracing wheel and trace it just so I'll transfer it to the folded part. Then I'm going to use my pencil to highlight it like this, and that's pretty much about it. So I'm going to cut out this one now. Then after cutting it out and working on the other part, we'll be tightening the keyhole. That's the C open part. Yeah. So that it will just sit pretty well on your body. Then for your dart, decide that you're going to measure the length of the dart. It will be easy for you. Mine is about 5.25. So I will also notch on both sides, and that will make sewing the dart very easy. If I know that the length is 5.25 and I have my notches where I'm supposed to have it, it will make sewing the dart very easy by the time I transfer the pattern to the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to keep this aside, then bring in the other part so that we'll work on it. For this one now, you can decide to just cut one side. The two sides are the same, but since we already drafted it like this, I'm going to like cut the whole part. So I will open up the waist dart so I can be able to close the bust dart. So I'll first fold it in this way, then I'm going to place it in on the bust point line like this. Yeah, then I'm going to use my masking tape to tape it down. Then go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side and also close the gaping dart. That's the neckline dart. Then after doing that, this is what it looks like, and I'm blending in the neckline. Now I'll go ahead and blend in this side. Yeah, I'll do the same thing for this other side. Then I'm going to cut out the pattern. Now I can be able to cut the neckline, because after closing the gaping dart, the neckline will sort of be distorted. So after blending it in now, I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern. I will also open up the dart, and I was supposed to like give this armhole princess line, yeah, but I'll be doing that later on in this video. So I'll cut the dart this way. If you leave it like this, transferring this to your fabric will be kind of hard, and that's why you need to open up the dart somewhere just so it will be easy for you to transfer it to your fabric. Then bringing in this one back, I'm going to eliminate, like do a gaping dart just around the same place I did it on the other pattern. Do you get that? So I'm doing just half inch. Then after marking it like this, I'm going to slash open one of the line like this. Then I'll place it on the other line like this. Now I'm going to use my water glue to hold it down. Then after doing it, this is what it looks like. At this point, you can decide to go ahead and slide in a paper underneath this part, just so you blend in your C curve. And that's if you feel like you no longer like the shape of the C and you also blend in the neckline. But for now, I'll keep this pattern aside and work on the back pattern. For the back pattern, I already have the shoulder line and the waistline, the hip line, and then the full length. We'll be doing this to get to the whole length we wanted. Then measuring from the shoulder to the waist, you see that I have 15 and a half against the 17 inches I used for the front. The hip line is 23 and a half instead of 25, and then the length is about 43 and a half instead of 45 inches. Yeah. So the 1.5 difference is what I used as the bust dart. Do you get that? Now I'm going to start from the center back and get the shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then I'll go down to the chest line and get the shoulder measurement again on that point. And then I'm going to um, connect it like this. Next, I'm going to come down here by 1 inch. Then from the center back, I'll be coming in by 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect it like this, like slant the shoulder this way. Next, I'm going to mark my actual neck width of 3.5. Then I'll be going down to 2 inches, and that would be the neck depth for the back. Then I'm going to give it this curve. The next thing now is to get the midpoint of this line, even though we'll not be needing it now, but I'll just mark the midpoint, and then I'm going to just curve the armhole. Okay, we'll be needing that later. Now I'm going to come to the waistline from the center back. I'll be coming in by 0.75 to contour the center back. Yeah, then I'm going to place my curve this way, and then I'm going to like contour the center back like this. The center back is not straight, so you already know this is how I do it on this channel. Then I'll blend it down to the hip line like this. Next, I'll start from this center back contour line and take the bust measurement divided by 4. Then I'll come to the waist from the center back contour line again. I'll take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus extra 1 inch. I'll be using that for that later. Then I'll take the hip measurement divided by 4. There's no dart intake, so I'm not replacing any dart there. Okay, so I'm going to connect these points like this. Now going down to the length, I will minus 8 inches from my hip circumference. Yeah, then I'm going to divide that by 4 and mark it here. And then I'm going to connect it like from the hip down to what I have on the hem. And you can see that it's pencil enough. If you want more, you can do more, but it's a pencil gown, so it's supposed to look like it. Now for the darts, I'll start from the center back contour line and go down to my bust span of 3.5. Then I'm going to go up 6 inches from the waistline and 6 inches down below the waistline. Yeah, then I'll measure from the actual center back line to that point, and I have about 4.2. I'm going to mark that on the 6 inches up and also on the 6 inches down. Then I'm going to mark a straight line like this. Yeah, so now on both sides of this new line, I'll be marking 0.5 half inch on both sides, and I'm going to connect the dots like this. Then that's the 1 inch I added to the waist measurement. Yeah, and that's the 1 inch dart intake. Okay, now I'm going to give it the princess curve, the armhole princess curve, and I'm freehanding it. You can decide to use your curve to do that, but this works. Yeah, then I'm going to like extend it here with about 0.25. That will be for the side. By the time I cut this out, this part will make no sense for you in case you don't already know what that stands for. Now for the slit, I will measure from the hip line 10 inches down. Okay, 10 inches works. You can also decide to measure from your hip 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches, 10 inches. But 10 inches is pretty much standard, because that would give you the liberty to walk, and also it will not expose your body much. Then if you're going for this kind of slit, the overlapping slit, the one we call open and close, just go ahead and give it this shape that you have here. Okay, this is pretty much advisable because it's modest and also moderate for corporate dresses. But you can also decide to come in here by 1 inch or 1.5. Then you're going to like slant it this way to where you want your slit to start. That also works. Yeah. So I'm going now to follow the center back contour line and add my 1 inch zipper allowance. Yeah, then after that I'm going to place my curve the exact way I used to contour the center back and then connect the zipper allowance. Okay, so I didn't contour the knee line like from the hip down the same way I usually do it, and that is totally optional. I didn't forget that. Okay, you can decide to do it, you can also decide not to do it depending on what you're going for. But you can see how I blended it in from the hip line down to the slit. Then I'm going to cut out the pattern just as you can see me do it here. Just watch how and where I'll be cutting this out, especially the princess line. That's the dot line. Okay, can you see that now? So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. And then you can see, like I said, the side is about 0.25 longer than the center. That's because while joining it, the side tends to be shorter. So with this, it will take care of that. They are both going to be equal. Then this is the center front. Like I said before, you can decide to give it a princess, yeah, armhole princess line, or you can decide to just connect the dart straight. But I would advise you do the armhole part. I'm not this straight like this. Okay, if you're using a contrasting color that is not like, if you're using a contrasting color and not a very dark color, this connecting it straight like this, the dart is going to show and it's not going to look all cute. So it's just best that you just connect it to the armhole. Okay, then when you're adding your dart allowance, like stitching allowance, the allowance is not going to get all the way to the 6 inches down, which is the length of the dart down, yeah. But whenever your allowance gets, you're going to stitch it to the 6 inches. I hope that is clear. Then for this overlay part, the bust dart is the only dart you're going to sew. So go ahead and transfer this to your fabric. The sleeve is just the basic sleeve, yeah. Use the necessary interface and happy sewing. With this, we've come to the end of our tutorial. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.